You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 25th meeting of the Michigan City Water Works Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call this meeting of the Water Board to order. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Approval of the minutes from the meeting of March 11th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for March 11th.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the minutes from the meeting of March 11th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Purchase orders.
Purchase orders, we got a long list. The first one is to Ivy Tech for CDL school for new employee. We have to determine who's going to be going first. We have a couple of new employees that we're going to have to send to CDL school. So for $4,995. The next one is to Midwest Meter 2-inch brass meter flanges. This is for stock for $1,516.48. The next item is to TT Technologies, 2 telescoping aiming frames for our moles. These are the devices we use to push water lines under the road, and those are for $2,600. The fourth one is to Michigan City Garage, equip our distribution trucks with garage door openers. Apparently, they've all gotten to the point where some of them are about they're just like falling apart and they're being taped back together. So it's basically to replace a bunch of them. For $1,098. The next is to Ferguson. This is couplings and clamps for 10th and Franklin. This would be confirming. This is so that we could get the water service relocated for a couple of the houses, so we can do that water main on Franklin and between 10th and the railroad tracks on Franklin. We wanted to get those materials in quickly so that we could get that project done. Next item is to Midwest Meter 3-inch meters and strainers for stock for $7,928.32. The next one is to Leaps. This is copper for the Franklin and 10th Street, and also service lines material. Woodland Ridge is that new subdivision. They ordered a bunch of services out there, so we needed a bunch of copper for that. For $31,220.75. The next item is Digital Graphic Solutions. These are decals for 2025 Dodge Ram, formerly or known as number 4. This is the new truck we bought, traded in an old truck for $574. The next one is to Custom Fits. This is lighting for that same truck for $1,947. This is our emergency strobes and all that stuff. The next one is to Soil Solutions. With the wetlands that are out along US 20 for the water and sewer project, not only do we get to pay a bunch of money in restoration of the wetlands, but then we also have to pay for 2 years of monitoring and ensuring that invasive species don't move in while it's recovering. So this purchase order is for $19,600. This is going to be shared with sanitary. I believe it's like a 65-35 split. They're going to be actually covering about 65% of it versus us. The exact numbers will be worked out. And they still have to, their board still has to approve it as well. So, and the next item is to Lowe's. These are general use trailers. We had a couple of these and they've fallen apart over the years. Basically, this is smaller lightweight trailers that we can throw some small equipment on. We have the big tag trailers, but those are meant for our backhoes or our big shoring box, because that's really big, real heavy, real bulky. But those are hard to maneuver around. So we were looking at getting these for $4,276.72 for the two of them. The next item is Qubit Networks, year licensing and support for business information technology. So this is like our firewall and stuff like that. The next item is to truck centers. This is revising the quote for truck number 14. So if you remember, we had truck 14 go in and they thought that it was a problem with a cooler, and so they fixed the parts, and it turned out that wasn't the problem. So then we had another purchase order that we did. They were going to change out the head gasket on the motor. When they pulled that apart, they discovered that there were actually holes inside the engine. There's some sleeves, and the sleeves had holes in them, and that's what was allowing oil to get into the coolant and causing our problem with overheating and stuff. This is an older truck, but it only has about 36,000 miles. I did some research on what the value of the truck is after this motor rebuild, and it is about 3 times what this motor rebuilds can cost us at minimum. So it's worth it to go ahead and get this motor rebuild done. Because the truck itself, other than the motor, is in excellent condition. Brakes, tires, frame, box, everything. It's all in real good shape. And buying a new one would be in the neighborhood of like $150,000, $160,000. So kind of makes sense to go this direction.
Wow.
So yeah, it's $20,612.50. Let's see. The next one is to Riggs Outdoor Power. It's a 0-turn mower. We had this in our capital plan, but it looks like it's coming in under that. So that's not a bad thing. For $4,929.06, and this is for over at the plant. The old mower is getting worn out, so they need to replace it. The next item is to USA Blue Book. This is lab supplies for $2,491.71. Purchase order number 16 is to Midwest Meter. This is tail pieces. That's part of our meter settings, and that would be for stock. And then number 17 is to Ferguson. This is repair clamps to replace. We've had quite a few main breaks, and this is to replace a bunch of the repair clamps that we've used through the last few months of main breaks. So that's for $16,854.52.
I'll make a motion to accept the list of purchase orders dated 3/25/25.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, but in the amount of $125,057.55.
There's a motion second that we approve the list of purchase orders dated March 25th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, claims. Questions on the claims?
I make a motion approval of the list of claims dated March 25th, 2025. Second.
Motion second that we approve the list of claims dated March 25th, 2025. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Financial statement. Chris?
And we'll just run through our page 2 on our operating cash. We took in $755,418 in receipts. Out of that, there was $802 in bad debt recoveries for the month. We spent $668,194, not including our monthly transfers. Our inventory purchases were $62,264, and our capital expenditures were $132,054. Our ending balance for the month was $135,158. We jump to page 3. Most of this page is pretty normal. Our other revenue line is way over forecast. We had sanitation caught up on some back contract billing payments, so those are in there. On our expense line, the distribution line is a little over forecast. We had vacuum truck rental and purchased limestone and cold mix. And then our customer accounts line is over forecast. We purchased envelopes, which actually in forecast, we've been expensing them in the general line, but we've moved them up to the customer accounts line to keep them segregated, just so we can track the expenses better. Our gross income for the month was $68,464, not including depreciation. And after depreciation, we had a net loss of $55,536. Our net loss for year-to-date so far is $324,094, and that's with depreciation in it. On page 4, our miscellaneous line is a little over forecast here, and that is where our envelopes fell in, and also we had a compensation payment for the mayor for the city that was in that line. Everything else is at a little forecast. And then just on the last page 6, first item, redemption fund, I just want to point out our bond payment came out, $674,750, and then there was also a $20 wire fee, so you'll see that's been made. And if you jump back to page 5, on the lower half, section 2, on long-term debt, you'll see our bond balance is $55,060,000 after that bond payment. That's all I've got, unless you have any questions.
Take a motion for the financial statement, February 2025. Second.
There's a motion and a second that we accept the financial statements through February 28, 2025 as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Got a quote for the extension of Moore subdivision track 1.
You've probably heard about this in the news, that subdivision is going out in the land that used to be the St. Andrew Episcopal Church off of Moore Road, between Birch Tree Lane and the railroad tracks in Route 12. So basically, they want to do the first portion or the first phase of this project, so we need to provide a quote for running water main through this. At this point in time, we are looking at 16 condominium homes. This line would basically loop from Birch Tree Lane through this portion of subdivision and back to Birch Tree Lane over at Clemens. There's already a line coming across there at Clemens, so it's just tying into that. And then it'll be set up to branch and head further west in the development when they develop the western portion in the future, which would be the next tract. So using our standard formula of the 16 condominiums, each of those would be individually metered. There is that 3-year revenue calculation. The total value of the materials was $33,844, and the total value of the labor was $34,406, and that's our department personnel labor. With the revenue calculation applied, the developer's portion would be $16,244. The department's portion would be $52,006. Again, with our personnel doing the labor. Just using our normal formulas, this project is pretty hot to go from what I understand. They've already started clearing trees and stuff out there. So the recommendation is that we quote the developer to pay the $16,244 towards materials. The department is then contributing $17,600 towards the materials, and then as usual, the labor is our own personnel. So we're paying them if they're doing this job or any other job.
I think it sounds great.
Yes, it does.
I can make a motion for the approval of the quote. Approval of the quote for the water main extension for the Moore subdivision, tract 1.
Second motion.
Motion second that we approve the water main extension for the Moore subdivision. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
What's the total units in favor?
In the end,
Yeah.
I don't remember offhand how many more there are when it goes into tract 2. A lot of them are duplex units going that direction. Rough estimate is around, I think, 20 more in that neighborhood. It's a rough estimate. I don't remember exactly what the next phase will be.
All right, any old business?
Yes, under old business, at our last board meeting, we had approved an estimate to send a quote to Mr. Scott Thornburg for some land he's purchasing south of the undeveloped Gardena Street, bordered by Risky Avenue in Gardena. And initially, when I put the quote together, I wasn't following the formula that we usually use very well, and I realized that we were not really, we're basically, the way it was quoted, with $6,600 of the upsizing was going to land on the developer. We've never done it that way, so I took a hard look at this project again before I sent this out to Mr. Thornburg. And one of the things that I got to looking at is what kind of development we have out there, what kind of development we can look forward to, what are the mains going in, because right now there are no mains going into Trail Creek, but our hope is that someday Trail Creek decides that they want to extend water mains into the community. But did we need to have a 12-inch water main running across that space that I originally put together for quote? And looking hard at it, I decided that was not a right move. It's not necessary. I do think looping Bruce Drive and Risky Avenue together is very important. It's going to improve fire flow capacities. as well as water quality. Now, under normal circumstances, we would require full frontage. So, if you look at this revised drawing, you'll see on the home site that his north property line extends west beyond where this main would connect at Bruce Drive. So what I'm proposing is that we only do this small portion he's allowed to tap into it. But because we're not requiring him to do full frontage on that side, he wouldn't be getting the revenue refund. And we would also put our shut off north of the ditch. There's a pretty significant ditch through there. So it would be his responsibility to cross that.
Okay. On the old drawing, on the previous drawing,
Yeah,
from Bruce to Risky, I do not see a red line, but on this new one, there is, correct?
right. So what I originally drew up before, I drew in green because that was going to be a 12-inch
Okay.
main across it. I don't think that 12-inch main is necessary.
Okay.
And the land that he hasn't developed yet, that he also owns, which is to the south of this home site, that land, if you look at this drawing, you'll see that we have a large 24-inch main at Cool Spring. So I would require him to come up from Cool Spring that direction to service anything on the south side of this, because he's talked about possibly subdividing that into multiple pieces of multiple properties.
Okay.
So in this case, this would be now 227 feet of 6-inch main. The total project value, $48,937. Developer's portion would be $31,734. Let's see. There would be no revenue refund. It essentially reduces the amount between this route and basically if we had to do the full frontage, it's actually going to save about $7,100 over going the full length across the frontage. I don't see that we need to do that in this case because I don't see a benefit to doing it. And then it's, if this main was to be run down Risky to his south property line, it would actually cost him this is about $41,500 less expensive than that route. So this is the least expensive route for him. It does give us a benefit because we do get those mains looped. He'd be allowed to tap off of that main for his house. But future development would come from elsewhere. Any additional developments would come from elsewhere.
Then obviously the department's portion is less as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I just had a question. In
Yeah.
general, like where these sites are, and they really dug into all over the place. Can we ever go on a little field trip or you show me sometime where some of these places are?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm getting, where I can't figure it out, where all this is.
Well, that's part of the reason why I want to make sure I included the
Very good
drawing
maps.
was a little further back,
Very
so
good
you can
maps.
kind of see where it sits in relation to Cool Spring and Gardena. For reference, if this drawing, if you could see on this drawing a little further west over here, that's where the school, the bus barn is and all that.
Joy?
Woodland.
Joy, okay.
Joy School, yeah.
And this side's Trail Creek.
Yeah, I've been circling,
Yeah.
when my van wants to work.
Yeah, and if there's ever any question about that, just give me a call and I send it to you if you see that there's something you want to look at.
Okay. I think it sounds great. You haven't said anything to him yet?
I just told him, because he was wanting to know where his quote was, and I told him that I needed to revise it.
Okay.
That I was gonna bring it to you guys tonight, and that I'll be back in touch with him tomorrow.
Your thoughts?
I'll make,
Davis?
I'll make a motion to accept the new quote as presented.
I'll second it.
There's a motion second that we approve the revised bid for the extension of South Thornbrook's. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Any other new business?
Under new business, I'll just mention that we have a contract with the sanitary district for billing them for the bills, the billing work that we do. And we met today, and one of the things that came out of that is that contract hasn't really been updated really since it was written back in the late 80s. And so a lot of things about technology and stuff need to be updated. So I just wanted to let you know that we'll be working on that. And when we get this to a point where it's ready for the board to review, we'll get it to you. Just wanted to give you a heads up that we're looking at that.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? Public comment? Any comments from the directors? Anybody like to move to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn meeting Thursday.
I'll second it.
Tuesday.
There's a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
I was looking at Thursday.